Well, I'm a little stumped. These upholstery studs are engraved with Louis Vuitton.
Suzie Fletcher, 63, said what many people have been waiting for years. What she confirmed regarding Jay Blades immediately changed all previous thoughts. The relationship that had been under countless doubts was now clearly confirmed by Suzie herself. Even in the most sensitive period when Jay was involved in a series of personal incidents, Suzie was the first to step forward. And what she shared not only surprised those involved, but also made it impossible for the audience to turn away. Everything changed from here. The confirmation comes as Jay Blades is no longer part of the show and is going through a period of personal turmoil. She is neither shy nor cautious about the person she once shared a stage with in front of millions of viewers. The relationship is neither denied nor downplayed. On the contrary, she is clear. We don't need to label anything. What we have is real, and it exists on its own. The announcement put an end to years of suspicion. Within the production team, Suzie had always been a woman of few words, keeping her personal life private and avoiding any speculation outside of work. Nevertheless, Jay's sudden departure from the show created a void that could not be filled. And it was in that moment that Suzie decided to speak up. She not only talked about what happened on set, but also emphasized that their relationship did not end with the show. He was always there, even when he was not on air. For me, that didn't change, Suzie said. One of the details that was confirmed was Jay's frequent presence at Suzie's home after he retired from television activities. She explained that the meeting sharing and companionship continued in private. There were long conversations, emotional support, and silent but meaningful moments between the two. These things did not appear in the program, but that does not make them less authentic. Suzie also said that during the period when she was dealing with painful memories of her late husband Jay, was the only person on the team she could really share with without feeling defensive. I didn't have to hide anything from him, she stressed. He always listened, didn't judge, and didn't turn away when things got tough. This goes right to the heart of what Suzie Fletcher is affirming. This is no longer a vague intimacy or polite concern between co-workers. She is clear that this relationship exists outside the confines of a television show. It is real, and it matters. According to people close to them, Suzie and Jay have maintained regular contact, even after they have not appeared together in public. They continue to share with each other about work, personal life, and the crises Jay is going through. The connection between the two is described by Suzie as beyond what anyone could name. This is a weighty statement, especially at a time when Jay Blades is no longer on air and is under a lot of pressure from outside. Rather than keep quiet, Suzie chose to stand by the person who accompanied her in her most private moments. But to understand why those words carry so much weight, we need to go back to the past, where two lives once intersected, then intersected at the right moment. Two lives, one crossroad. Before they became synonymous with the repair shop, Suzie Fletcher and Jay Blades had been through some tough times. Each had their own story filled with pain, loss, and things that no one saw on television. It wasn't by chance that they found each other as companions. It all started with old wounds that hadn't healed. Suzie Fletcher lived in the U.S. for nearly 2 decades. She left England to work in the leather and saddle restoration industry, a profession she had pursued since her youth. While in Colorado, she married a man named Rob. It was an unhappy marriage. She endured constant control violence and hurtful words. Her family knew little until things had escalated. Rob died of cancer, and it was at that point that Suzie returned to England, carrying with her the greatest pain of her life. When she returned home, she had lost all inspiration for her career. Her personal life was falling apart, her mental state was depressed, and all social connections were almost cut off. Only her younger brother, Steve Fletcher, remained. It was Steve who brought Suzie to the repair shop, hoping that this environment could help her recover her spirit and find joy in her work. But what Steve did not expect was that Suzie would not only find inspiration again, but also find a deep connection with another person, Jay Blades. Jay Blades, unlike Suzie, grew up in London in difficult circumstances. His family was broken, he was without a father, and he lived in a troubled neighborhood. Jay dropped out of school early, spent long periods of unemployment, worked many manual jobs, and then fell into a state of disorientation. Jay's life only began to change when he founded an organization to support troubled youth through carpentry. But even with his initial success, Jay still had personal problems. After his first divorce, he went missing for several days. His ex-wife had to report it to the police. Jay later admitted that he had thought about ending it all. Suzie came into Jay's life at a time when they were both trying to get their bearings. They came from different worlds, but both had faced and survived major traumas. This created a bond that they didn't need to articulate. It was that common ground that helped them quickly understand each other better than anyone else on the show. The big differences in background, age, and career path did not create a distance. On the contrary, it was that contrast that made them a support for each other. Suzie was calm, thorough, and experienced. Jay had energy, strong emotions, and the ability to connect with people. In a stressful work environment, the two kept each other balanced without outside interference. Both admitted, albeit in different ways, that if they hadn't met at the repair shop, they might not have fully emerged from the dark times in their lives. For Suzie, Jay's presence was something that helped her feel understood in a natural way without having to force or hide her past. For Jay, Suzie was the first person he truly trusted in the television environment. Someone who was there when things didn't go as planned. From personal sharing to work collaboration, their relationship is not built on superficial things. It comes from within, from the things that have broken them down, but also the things that have made them stronger. Both Suzie and Jay have experienced real trauma. They have both lost something important, trust, affection, or a loved one. But it is in that healing journey that they find each other, not in the sense of each helping the other, but in walking the same path, not leaving the other behind. That companionship does not happen in a single moment, but over many years, through each filming session, each off-camera conversation, each time someone needs someone by their side. And that's when this relationship began to have a clear impact on how they coordinated, shared, and maintained trust throughout their long time together at the repair shop. Bonding through the craft. The relationship between Suzie Fletcher and Jay Blades was not only formed by commonalities in their personal lives. At the repair shop, they worked together for many years in an environment that required delicate coordination and absolute trust. From the way they talked, discussed work, to the moments when the cameras were not recording, the two maintained a clear, noticeable bond. Suzie is meticulous, always paying close attention to every little detail. She doesn't get carried away easily, but she always responds when Jay is in the workspace. When Jay walks in, asks questions, offers encouragement, or shares ideas, Suzie receives them comfortably and naturally. There is no reserve or distance. Suzie has stated that Jay's presence makes her feel more secure when working, even though they don't always work together directly. Jay Blades, as the show's main host, often observes the experts at work. But with Suzie, he's not just a bystander. Jay often takes the time to stand next to her, listening to her analysis of the material, age, or emotion associated with the item being restored. These actions don't come from the role of a host, but rather show a special personal respect. Jay mentioned Suzie many times in conversations with guests and crew. He often emphasized her contributions, using positive words like dedicated, reliable, resilient when introducing Suzie on camera. This was repeated over many seasons without change. Those words were not polite, but expressed his personal opinion. Jay did not give such evaluations to many other people on the show on such a regular basis. In addition to their appearances on television, Suzie and Jay also appeared in program-related activities such as seminars, interviews, and media events. In these places, their chemistry was even more evident. The way they answered questions, shared memories, or complimented each other in interviews was noted to be natural, consistent, and without any gap in roles or ranks. They treated each other as equals regardless of their position as hosts or main guests. It was noticeable that Suzie rarely shared her personal side in public. But when Jay was standing next to her, she often opened up, willing to talk more about her views on life work and feelings. The atmosphere between them was clearly supportive. Each made the other feel safe when appearing in public. As the show entered its high-profile phase, the pressure mounted on the entire crew. Nevertheless, Suzie and Jay maintained a stable relationship. During many of the long filming sessions, they often sat next to each other during breaks, which back-office workers confirmed was a regular, unplanned occurrence. While they didn't always talk, choosing to be close during off hours showed a level of intimacy that went beyond professional needs. This relationship also has a positive impact on the overall working environment. Suzie and Jay often work together to support new members. Those who are retrained on the program or guests with unstable mental health receive parallel support from these two. They proactively share experiences, give advice, and are always on the lookout to intervene promptly if someone is having difficulty during the work process. Another less noticed but important detail is that Jay frequently mentions Suzie in conversations outside the show. In several publications, he has contributed to Suzie, is mentioned as someone who has had a particular influence on him. This is not a mere introduction to the television audience, but a true recognition of the role of the individual. But that connection didn't stop at a professional level. It persisted, but major changes in the show's lineup, and it only became more apparent when the external cracks began to directly affect Jay Blade's position and image. Standing together when things fall apart. Jay Blades has been absent from the repair shop since the beginning of the year. His absence was not a conscious personal decision. In fact, a series of personal issues put him in a difficult position, and the show was forced to change. During that tumultuous period, Suzie Fletcher did not shy away, did not back down, and did not change the way she viewed her longtime companion. After the end of his second marriage, Jay faced a lot of pressure from both the media and those close to him. Details surrounding his private life were widely shared. Suzie did not participate in any of the debates, but she kept in direct contact and expressed her personal views clearly through her actions. She did not speak up to defend herself, nor did she avoid being questioned. Instead, she confirmed that their relationship had not changed due to outside circumstances. One of the most sensitive times was when Jay completely withdrew from all public activities. During that period, Suzie still fully participated in the new recordings of the program. Nevertheless, it is worth noting that she maintained the same way of expressing herself as before, did not create distance from those who worked with Jay, nor did she change the way she talked about the process of working with him. She still mentioned the days of collaboration as an important part of her career journey. Suzie's steady demeanor made a difference. She didn't shy away from colleagues in difficult situations. Instead, she reached out and found ways to maintain a steady flow of communication. While she didn't speak publicly about Jay's crisis, those close to her confirmed that Suzie was in constant contact and encouraged him to get back on track. The relationship between Suzie and Jay was also not affected by the change in personnel in the program. When the new person took over the leading position, she continued to work as usual while showing respect for what Jay had contributed. She did not compare, did not lighten the old role, and always maintained a moderate behavior. That made many people in the crew feel that the relationship between them was not just work, but a long-term commitment not shaken by circumstances. Another important factor is the role of Steve Fletcher, Suzie's younger brother. Steve has maintained a good relationship with both Jay and Suzie throughout their time working together. On several recent occasions, Steve has posted pictures showing that the three of them are still connected, even though they are no longer on the show together. This shows that while the work environment has changed, the foundation between them remains. Suzie has not commented on the controversy surrounding Jay's personal life. Nevertheless, she has made it clear that she does not turn her back on those who have helped her, especially during important times. She has emphasized that she values the process she has gone through and does not let external factors overshadow the value of the relationship she once had. During Jay's absence, Suzie continued to demonstrate stability in her work. She appeared regularly in new episodes, maintained a professional working style, and did not change anything about the way she communicated with the audience or colleagues. This proved that even though her closest colleague was no longer by her side, she still maintained her personal attitude and principles. Notably, Suzie doesn't let outside questions affect how she views the past. She doesn't distance herself from the memories she shared with Jay. On the contrary, when asked, she confirms that many of the most valuable lessons and memories of her television career came from her time working with him. It's that consistency that makes their bond stronger. And that became even more evident when the show changed hosts, but Suzie remained firmly at the center. It was from here that her place in the lineup began to become distinctly different. The last one to hold the line. Following Jay Blade's departure, the central roles in the repair shop have been more fluid. Familiar faces have continued to grace the show, but Suzie Fletcher has been the most notable for her continued presence and increasingly defined role. While the lineup changes have been ongoing, Suzie has not only maintained her form, but has also shown more clearly her stability, grit, and influence in the current lineup. Suzie's consistent presence in subsequent seasons is no surprise. For years, she has been one of the show's most reliable assets. But since Jay left the show, audiences have come to see Suzie in a different light. She didn't need to be a host to stand out, but her persistence and consistency in her work has helped her become the backbone of the entire crew. With over 4 decades of experience in restoration, Suzie has always been proactive in guiding and supporting her colleagues through complex work segments. Newcomers to the program refer to her as a mentor, a dedicated and approachable colleague. There is no gap between Suzie and the younger generations of the group, but her being one of the oldest. In 2024, Suzie published her autobiography, The Sun Over the Mountains. The book focused on her journey through abuse loss and finding herself again. In it, she mentioned the personal relationships that helped her regain her balance, and Jay Blades was one of them. Rather than beat around the bush, Suzie chose to directly present what she felt during her time with Jay. This was the first time she brought that relationship out of the spotlight, showing that for her, this connection was a truly important part of her life. Although her official role on the show has not changed, Suzie has become an increasingly trusted figure among the audience. Her calm, firm words and standard working style have made her the face expected to maintain the core spirit of the repair shop after the change period. Many in the crew have said that Suzie is the factor that maintains the atmosphere of unity among the members, especially during the restructuring period of the show. When the show launched its extended version as The Repair Shop on the Road, Suzie was one of the few original members who continued to participate regularly. Although she was no longer with Jay, she maintained her own way of expressing herself, not making herself the central character in an awkward way, but still putting the job first. Her appearances always felt genuine, true to the nature of the show, without the need for show. Suzie Fletcher chose to speak out at a time when everything around her was changing. What she confirmed not only made the relationship between two people clearer, but also showed the weight of loyalty, trust, and true affection in a world that is often chaotic. If you think stories like this need to be spread more, don't forget to share the video with interested people. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next content. And comment below what you think about Suzie Fletcher, who has kept all values even when everything around her changed. Thank you for watching until the end.